In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government. That is a summary of my report on a constitutional republic, not a democracy.
Welcome back to Notify America. We have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include a showdown heating up at the southern border as Texas challenges the Biden administration's authority, refusing to back down, and Joe Biden coming out publicly yesterday, giving Texas 24 hours to stand down or face the consequences, they say. Also, Tucker Carlson causes the Trudeau government in Canada to completely melt down after thousands of Canadians flock to Calgary to see him speak. Also, we have the moment when Adam Schiff gets called out this week at the California Senate debate. Funny clip, as he seems to get a wee bit flustered up on stage, and a very odd story out of Modesto, California, where a sophisticated network of caves have been discovered, massive caves that were furnished and built to last, it seems like, discovered 20 feet under the street. We have the video of what it looks like inside. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving these daily updates. Tucker Carlson brings down the House across the border in Canada this week as he kicked off his Liberating Canada tour, holding multiple events across the country where he simply just speaks to free Canadians who choose to attend. And boy, did they choose to attend. His event in Calgary on Wednesday saw 8,000 people show up, buy tickets, 8,000 people. Then his event yesterday had even more, filling a stadium to the rafters. More people than Justin Trudeau or Joe Biden would ever be able to muster up at one of their campaign rallies. Well, following the event, the Trudeau government came out, or members of the Trudeau government, and called Tucker a threat to democracy. This is for real, by the way. Stephen Goulbier, Canada's climate czar, along with other MPs, held a press conference saying Tucker Carlson's speech was unacceptable, and he unleashed the hellfire of MAGA into their country, saying his words cause political violence and should not be allowed. You can't make this stuff up. Watch.
For doing his job. You can have respectful discourse in this country. You can raise the issue. You can bang your fist on a table at a FedProv meeting. That's all legit. But you do not summon the dogs of MAGA conservatism to come and somehow try to scare us and to try to incite violence against politicians of any stripe. It's not acceptable. And if she would take her job seriously, she'd actually be focused on housing, on climate change, on actually solving the issues of Albertans, like forgetting her ridiculous proposal on CPP, instead of trying to summon evil forces from the United States to try to take on one of our colleagues.
What is the violence, I think the minister also said this in French, what is the violence that they are bringing to Canada? What is the political violence that you're talking about, just to be very clear?
Well, to put a target on someone's back, for example.
To put
someone in crosshairs.
You say they're bringing here.
I mean, spewing hate speech about LGBTQ people, trying to bring the kind of division that they have in the United States north of the border. MAGA-style conservatism has no place in Canada, and it's trying to reach through our borders. And as Minister Rodriguez has said, conservative premiers, instead of doing their jobs, are trying to invite this wave of populism. And I can tell you, it's making newcomers nervous and fearful. People in the LGBTQ community do not feel safe.
This comes, by the way, just 2 weeks after the Deputy Prime Minister's bodyguard arrested a Rebel News reporter for simply asking her a question. Arrested him on trumped-up charges for assaulting an officer, which is a serious crime anywhere, but carries a lengthy prison sentence. When we have the video, by the way, that clearly shows that's not what happened. Like, what the hell's happening in Canada? This is what happens when your opposition party is neutered, when you're afraid to speak, when the ruling party becomes way too powerful. In another story, the state of Texas officially declared an invasion on the southern border, and Greg Abbott's invoking his state's authority of self-defense. Article 1, Section 10, the right of self-defense, saying the President of the United States has abdicated his responsibility to defend the southern border. The Texas National Guard is now erecting more razor wire after the Supreme Court just ruled that the federal government has the authority to remove it, but the Supreme Court said nothing about Texas's right to put it back up. Little loophole there. So that's what they're doing, along with recruiting an army of farmers and ranchers to help in the effort, providing them rolls of wire fencing to put up on their private property to keep migrants from crossing into the interior of the country. Now, Texas still has control of Shelby Park in Eagles Pass, Texas, the largest crossing point that the cartels use to funnel these caravans of people across the border. And as of now, the Texas National Guard has control of it, erecting barricades and a perimeter patrolled by Texas National Guard, not to keep the migrants out. They have that under control. The flow of migrants through Shelby Park has virtually stopped. That border crossing is sealed. The perimeter, the barricades that they put up, that the National Guard is patrolling, aren't for the migrants right now. It's for federal border patrol. They're guarding against the federal government, federal border patrol, from entering the area, physically preventing them from entering. The Texas Military Department says they're preventing entry to any organization who perpetuates the flow of illegal migrants, i.e. the federal government. So Joe Biden, he's got himself in a bit of a pickle here. His authority's been challenged by Greg Abbott and the state of Texas. He demanded in an official White House letter that they let federal border patrol back into Shelby Park, which Greg Abbott's refused to do, again, keeping them out via force. Well, yesterday the president released another statement saying Texas has 24 hours to comply or else you'll face the consequences. Now, since then, 25 Republican states and governors have come out in support of Texas, saying they stand with Texas. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is sending supplies and personnel to back them up. This is evolving into a state power versus federal power battle, something I've personally never seen before. I don't remember a time when you have a state military defying the orders of the president, siding with their governor over the president of the United States. So what happens next? Well, Joe Biden, it seems like, has two options, one of which is extreme, very extreme. He can either back down, admit he lost, and let Texas continue defending the border, doing the job that Joe Biden refuses to do. Or his other option, the second option, is he could federalize the Texas National Guard, stripping Abbott's power over his troops, forcing them to stand down, something that's only been done a few times in history. Watch as Jesse Waters breaks this down on his show last night. Watch this.
But Democrats are now urging Joe Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard, rip the power away from Abbott and make them stand down, and let the invasion, as it's been declared, continue. Federalizing a state's National Guard has only been used in the most extreme circumstances. It was first used during the Whiskey Rebellion in 1792. It was also used during the Civil War, during desegregation, and during urban riots. But this time's different. The Democrats would be federalizing a state's National Guard to not protect our citizens. What does the White House say about that?
The Border Patrol agents are now, as you said, allowed to cut through the wire because of what the Supreme Court has laid out. It's unfortunate that we had to go there. It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job.
Binder's saying securing the border makes the Border Patrol's job harder. Well, in a way, she's right, because the job of Biden's Border Patrol is to process illegals, not catch and deport them.
What's so odd about this, though, is that Biden's even considering it. All in the effort to stop Texas from defending the southern border, Texas has virtually stopped the flow of illegal immigration in just a few weeks, at least through Shelby Park. So Joe wants to seize his military so he can reopen that illegal crossing point, let the thousands of people waiting on the other side walk right into the country. If you ask me, he's better off thanking Greg Abbott for helping secure the border and try to bow out gracefully. Just my opinion, but hey, I'm just some guy on YouTube. In another story, Mitt Romney decides to blame President Trump for the crisis at the southern border instead of the Biden administration, who can by the way, stop it with a stroke of a pen by reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy. In an interview Romney did with CNN, he claimed Trump doesn't want to secure the border. He wants to use it as political ammo against Biden in the election, saying, I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. The fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and Congress people that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. Now, what he's referring to is Trump coming out against that new border security deal that senators are floating right now. We spoke about it last week, the deal that has that daily threshold, that 5,000 daily limit where 5,000 migrants can cross per day, but anything over that, nope, not allowed. Effectively allowing 5,000 people a day to break the law before the law gets enforced. I'd hope Donald Trump would be opposed to that deal. Here's Mitt Romney. Watch this.
Do you think this is what he wants, the issue, Donald Trump? This is what he's doing?
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. And the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and Congress people that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border. And someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later.
In another story, a funny story, Senator Adam Schiff was called out during the California Senate debate this week as his opponent, Steve Garvey, lays down the hammer on how he lied to 300 million Americans for years about Russia collusion and gets Shifty Schiff a bit flustered up there on stage. Watch this.
Americans, including Californians who are visiting other states.
Thank you, Congressman.
And that decision would be dangerous.
Mr. Garvey, your rebuttal.
I think you've been censored for lying.
I was censured for standing up to a corrupt president.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Mr. Garvey's turn. Let him go.
Or trying to determine who we are by race or by color or by gender. They never listen. They have prearranged words to say.
All right. Real quick.
Sir, you lied to 300 million people. You can't take that back.
Okay, we're going to keep moving.
In another story, Sacramento residents discover massive caves carved into a riverbed alongside a busy road. The caves were found 20 feet below street level, thought to be lived in by a homeless person, as these volunteer groups remove over 7,600 pounds of items and trash. Video shows a reporter doing a quick walkthrough, and you could see what looks like paintings, floor tiles, even a makeshift fireplace was built. The Modesto Police Department released a statement saying this, quote, "This particular area has been plagued by vagrancy and illegal camps, which have raised concerns due to the fact that these camps were actually caves dug into the riverbanks." Here's some video of what it looks like inside. Watch this.
Hidden homeless caves tucked along the Tuolumne River in Modesto.
These are basically stairs that they made to get down to the dwelling.
Tracy Rojas took us on the treacherous walk to see the craters created near Crater Avenue.
And if one of these were to collapse, it would be devastating. This whole side would come down and into the water.
7,600 pounds of trash. That's how much was cleared out by volunteer groups and police over the weekend.
So this was fully furnished?
Yes. There was bedding, there was little things up on the mantle, lack of a better word, mantle, food items, see the hooks on the wall where they had bottles and things like that hanging down.
Painted pictures and even a makeshift fireplace. This was someone's home.
What do you think needs to be done?
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.